Hello and welcome to this Monday, August 26th, 2019 episode of Sidekick Mastermind. Now, today's episode is about how living and working at a Las Vegas hostel saved my life. Now, this may seem kind of odd and unusual, especially if the only thing you know about hostels is this scary movie Hostel. And here's kind of how it happened. I was district manager of some cell phone stores, and I had hired a good crowd of people. And at that same time, I was really struggling with depression and suicidal ideation. And so I hired these people and scheduled myself off of this schedule and had them take over my schedule. And it was just one day this happened. I kind of woke up one day and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I got a plane ticket. I rented a hotel room online, and then when I got there, the first night I stayed at Bali's, and I figured that I was going to try to overdose on heroin. I never had done heroin, but I figured that in Las Vegas I would be far enough away from my family. I'd just be far enough away. I don't really know what I was thinking at the time, but I just didn't want to be where I was. I knew I had to get out of Jackson, and so that's what I did. I scheduled myself off of the schedule, and then I didn't tell the owners what I was doing, and they found out by some of the other employees, and I could have come back, but he asked me what I was doing, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was walking when he called me, and I was just trying to find a place to do it, a way to do it. And I wanted it to be successful. I didn't want there to be a failure. So, I had already lived in Las Vegas before. And so I was studying certain areas, and I'd only lived there for a month before. And that's part of the reason why I went back, because it was a place that I had loved. So it was probably like a defense mechanism of, in order to keep me alive, going there to, it's like a fight or flight situation. And staying and fighting wasn't doing anything. And so I flew out of here to Las Vegas. Anyway, it was like the first day I stayed at Bali's. The second day I stayed at the Hooters Hotel and Casino, because these were the cheapest places. The Bali's hotel room was awesome, really spacious. They upgraded me when I got there. It was like $50, and they upgraded me to this huge suite. And so the next day I went to the Hooters Hotel and Casino for like $50 for the night. And then that's when I found the hostel. So I went and paid for a week. It was like $70 or something like that. It wasn't quite that low, but it was something ridiculously low, maybe just over $100, and like $14 a night or something like that. So yeah, it was probably just over $100 with taxes and everything. I can't remember. It was quite a few years ago, 2011. Anyway, I stayed there, and within a few days, I was like, this place is incredible. There were people from all over the world, young people with ideas about their life, and there were some people that seemed very wise to me. They were just they came to me at just the right time, and everyone that I ended up working with at that hostel was amazing. They were just very, very, very special people. The whole experience was just so unique and special. And there were so many times when I was scared because I was like, I don't really know these people. And time again, they they really did prove themselves trustworthy, and I didn't stay. I ended up coming back to Michigan because me and my son's mother had rekindled things. And when I lost her time and time again, I ended up in these suicidal situations. And that stems from the loss of love, the fear of loss of love. I wasn't just losing her, I was losing my son as well. And I don't know how we started talking again. I don't remember that, but I just remember that we did. And I had one of the first major smartphones. It was the original Galaxy phone. It was an Epic 4G with Sprint. It was a slider phone with a keyboard. While I was in Las Vegas, it actually broke. The slider stuff, the ribbon cable or something broke. Something stopped working on it. It was the second time I had issues with it. Samsung has been notorious for that. With their movable parts. Their newer phones have gotten better, but their fold phone had a similar issue. Similar issues, just other issues, manufacturing related issues. These are hard products to make in the mass quantity. So anyway, that was like my last Android. And then after that, I ended up getting an iPhone 4S. And after that, I've just been iPhone. And this isn't my iPhone podcast, so I won't talk too much about that. But my Apple podcast. But it was an interesting time in my life. And I did some partying, not extreme, but it was the only time I ever did psilocybin mushrooms. I don't know if I said that right, but magic mushrooms. And I did that, and I did ecstasy. And I'm saying this because both of these have been experimented with for depression and suicidal ideation. And they're working to do more experimentation. This is the only time I ever did either of those. And I've never done LSD or anything like that. Well, I did do, I did take DMT for 4 days in a row. It was with Acacia confucia. And that was supposed to get rid of my suicidal ideation. And actually, since then, I haven't really had it. So here's what I did then. It's kind of weird that I'm switching to this story, but I kind of feel it necessary. So there is a guy, and he came to me with his apostle. And he lived in this camper. This guy claimed that he was the king of Israel, prophecy from the prophecies of Ezekiel. His apostle told me that I needed to build the cities of the future. That's what I was meant to do. Anyway, these things happen. Everything goes crazy in the lives around me. And So I'm like really struggling. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to commit suicide if I can't get rid of this suicidal ideation. I'm committing to do this within like 90 days if I don't successfully get out of this. And so he's like, look, you need to do this for 4 days. He tells my wife. My wife, my wife is even like, forget it, try it. I don't care because something's severely wrong with you. And so I did this, and then and then on like the fifth day, it was bad. It was this blow up, and I flew out of there, escaped, just like I did before. Except this time I ran, and I was like walking along the train tracks, knowing that if a train came, I could end things. But a train came, and I just got off the tracks. It was like, I don't really want to do this. I Something's different. So I'm walking, and I get off the tracks because I knew that the cops were called and that they were going to try to take me to the psych ward. So I was walking along the road. Cop came, followed in front of me, and I mean, he knew, we all knew. I put my hands up because I've been beat up by the cops before. Not really beat up, but roughed up and left bruises on me. Enough to know to do exactly as the police say. I had a knife in my pockets. It's this knife, actually. So it's just a normal pocket knife. But, I knew that, I had that in my pocket. Had my hands up. I'm like, and I just started crying because it was like, I knew at that point there was nothing else I could do. My life was 100% out of my control at that point. So he handcuffs me and stuff. He even has me ride in the front seat with him. This was a good cop. This was can't remember if he was, I believe he was state, and then a Blackburn Township came as well. And they tend to be the better police, but the Jackson City police that really have to deal with a lot of stuff, they don't care if you've had a bad experience. They don't care that you want to end your life. They will cause more trauma to your life in order for them to go home safely. They do, like, that's what we have to understand as individuals. Look, this person could be killed by a suicidal individual. They don't know whether you're homicidal or suicidal. They just know that from their own traumas, their own experiences, that sometimes these suicidal people want to kill them. Sometimes these suicidal people don't. Sometimes these suicidal people are, non-confrontational. Sometimes they are. They just want to subdue you, get you in handcuffs, make sure you don't have anything dangerous on you, throw you in the back of a cop car, and in time get you to the hospital. So I'm like, not going to deal with that. And I just treated him nice, and he treated me extremely nice. So I get to the psych ward, and I spent a couple weeks there. And then I finally decided to get out. I told them, because at first I was like, I'm just going to stay. And then such craziness happened from this whole experience that it's taken me a year to really recoup from the experience. That was a year ago now. And now I feel pretty recouped from it. Now, the suicidal ideation doesn't ever really go away. Even, in 2011, when I went to Las Vegas to commit suicide, like people people say that, oh, people just use it as a threat, they're, manipulation and stuff like that. But here's the thing that people don't understand about suicidal ideation, at least with me, is that this is something that I've always done. I have went on these walks, and then I've exhausted myself to the point where then it's just you go to sleep and you start a new day. And then on these walks I think about things, and it's interesting because there are people that commit suicide. There are like 1 million people around the world that commit suicide. It's one of the leading causes of death, between drug deaths and suicide. A drug death is a suicide. It may be an unintentional suicide, but it's a suicide nonetheless. So back to my story in Las Vegas, because I got off course. The point was that these experimenting with psychedelics, I've done it like 3 times. And in Las Vegas, I was depressed the week before I left because I wanted to be with my son's mother and my son. And I loved Las Vegas. I loved everything. I was very torn. And while there are studies saying, these psychedelics can help with suicidal ideation, I don't know if that's what did it. Because when I got to the hospital, after I took the psychedelics in Las Vegas, the one I thought that I did commit suicide. When I was on the mushrooms, I thought, did I commit suicide? Is this the end of my life? It was just a weird, it, it, it sends you on weird thought processes. I don't think that it's beneficial for people with mental illness to be doing those things in uncontrolled environments. So anyway, I went to the hospital, and then I had the supervision, and things were good. It was like I had food, I had shelter, and I could just get my head straight. That's the purpose of the hospital. It's much like um, a very expensive vacation, a $10,000 to $20,000 vacation. That's not much of a vacation. It's humbling because you meet people that have fried their brains with drugs. You meet people that their brains are fried just from mental illness. You meet people that brains are not working right because of genetic mutations and whatnot. And I think that I had to experience all these things that I did. When I lived and worked in that hostel, it saved me. It gave me shelter. I had food. I was surrounded by people. I was living. I was working. I was playing. I was loving. I was learning, and I was paying it forward. That's legitimately what I was doing at that hostel. And when you lose the ability to do those things, like I did, so I went into the hospital, and then I lost everything. I had everything, and then I lost everything to a very when I was coming out of the hospital, I was like, I am willing to start completely fresh in the woods with the clothes that I have on my back. Well, my wife didn't want to leave me. She's a dedicated wife. She's an amazing wife. And she's like, I want to do whatever I have to for us. And I couldn't get our camper because there was an illegal PPO against me. and I wasn't going to fight it because I went down and read it, and there were so many lies in it that I was just like, this isn't worth fighting. So over the last year, I've tried to stay away from Jackson, and now that the PPOs are up, I still don't want to be in Jackson. I can't be in Jackson. Still, a year later, there's no benefit to seeing these people. I mean, I could go apologize, but even just going to apologize could turn into a complete disaster with another PPO. I want people to fully understand that the life that I created for myself, it's like it didn't just happen. I mean, this took years and years. And so it's just years and years of untreated mental illness, trying to treat it myself. Going to the hospitals, getting these, $14,000 plus 2 week stays. It's about $1,000 per day, roughly. So I've had roughly 9, 10 hospitalizations, over $100,000 in my mental health education. And that's not including the education that I've created for myself. Yeah, I've experimented, one time with the mushrooms, one time with the ecstasy, one time, for full 4 days in a row with the Acacia Confucia DMT. And there was something else with it, but that's not important. It was like a MOA inhibitor, MOAI. There's a lot of people doing this. And the people that I see doing this, it's not that I don't believe that there's a benefit. It's that you definitely need to do it with someone that's experienced in this. I probably wouldn't recommend doing it with the guy that I did it with. I mean, he's learning a lot more, he says, but it's like he needs more people around him. And right now he's on this spiritual journey, and I don't know. I don't quite know, to be honest with you. Because and that's been the thing that's made me been most cautious. Is because I've had spiritual experiences, even back to working at that Las Vegas hostel. So I just left that hostel. I just put my key in my pillowcase, left, and on the bus ride, messaged and said, "I'm sorry, but I had to go." And I did, and he knew. The owner knew, and he understood. That experience changed me in a way because it was like I was in these dorms. It was such an awesome experience. And that's the thing. I've never quite known exactly what was going to happen. I've just taken action and it's worked out. And I've started planning my suicide many times. And there are always these things that stop me, which leads me to believe that, of course, I don't really want to do it. But there's that pain and struggle. And I think it's helped bring me to this point. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't think that that it's ever gonna go away. But I think I finally figured out how to harness it and keep me moving forward in a way that's going to benefit the maximum amount of people. And that's what we're doing now. We are moving forward in our life in some very scary and uncertain territory. But my wife and I are doing this because of what I've created with these podcasts. I started something and it's moving forward. And no, I haven't made a single penny. over the last, 300 episodes that I've done. But I know that I'm going to attract and manifest the right partners here shortly. The right people are just about there. The right customers, the right partners, the right everything. And soon, I believe that we will have the proof that this works. So it's not a cure to depression or any of that, but it's a lifestyle adjustment that should offset the symptoms, which is interesting. It's about helping to feed, house, and empower people. Give the people the food, not just give it to them, but create an opportunity where people can live. Then they're working, loving, learning. They're working, playing, loving, learning, and paying it forward. My Gary V Club podcast, the Grab ATTM podcast, it's gaining more and more traction. And it's really interesting because things are starting to pick up. I'm finally starting to pick up. Unfortunately, this podcast isn't in iTunes yet and Apple Podcasts yet. I don't know why. I've got to find out what's stopping it. But all my other ones are, and they're picking up traction, and I just know it's a matter of time before it all comes together. I need financial assistance. I need an investment. I need customers, legitimate customers that want these Happy Hero studios, that want to be a part of this, because it starts with the Happy Hero studios. It starts with prototyping. It starts with getting the investors, because the real estate and the investment that needs to be done for this prototype is so big that I can't just raise the funds at a job. I need outside help. It's going to come. I know it. I feel it. I told this story because I want people to understand that if they feel that desperation where they feel that they need to die, take action. Take action in ways that are going to design your life the way you want them designed. Because you can design them. And that's what I've done. I've finally designed this life where even in the uncertainty, I still have certainty. I have my wife. We've got our house. This 8-foot by 26-foot house on wheels. And we have what we need. It's not to say that things might not be a struggle, but we have what we need. And we're going to make it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. And I really can't wait to see what happens in the coming weeks and months. It's interesting. It's really magical. Thank you. Head on over to inspirelansing.com for more information. Inspirelansing.com to see what I'm really working on here. Have a great one.